Positive, encouraging 100.3 KKLQ, Los Angeles. The K-Love for Christian music in Southern California. Worldwide, klove.com.
The following program is a public affairs presentation. Views and opinions expressed on this program aren't necessarily that of the host, staff, or management. Content may not be suitable for young children.
Closer Look.
Welcome to Closer Look. I'm Maria Morgan. Right now, thousands of teenagers, girls, boys too, thousands are trapped into human trafficking. They're manipulated into selling themselves. Law enforcement and survivor groups are fighting the good fight, but they need our help. Closer Look's Kendra Ponzio talks with two guests who are working those front lines.
Our guest today is Jason Collins, detective with the Sacramento Police Department, and we are going to be talking about human trafficking. Glad to get the law enforcement perspective on this topic. What made you want to become detective and get into the trafficking arena?
Over the years, I've had various assignments. I started out with financial crimes, identity theft stuff, and worked into robbery, burglary, and then I got into our gang unit. And then when it came to trafficking, the detective who had been in that unit for years was kind of the trafficking guru in the area. And it came up time for his retirement, and the spot opened up, and I was like, I don't know, it sounds like an interesting thing, but I really didn't know much about it. Once I got into the unit, my eyes were open to a whole new world of what trafficking entails. I had an idea based off of what the media and movies were. But once I got in there and saw what the world was really like, it was eye-opening, to be sure. And I always tell this story about how my very first case was a 12-year-old victim. And at the time, my daughter was 12 years old. It was kind of a shock to the system, really.
Absolutely. It's amazing when you've got kids that are that age and you just think, how could this happen?
Exactly.
So what did you see when you got into this? What are we seeing, especially on a nationwide basis or even a local basis? I mean, how big is the problem of human trafficking?
One of probably the biggest things that, I figured out, or at least the victims that I deal with, they're not being kidnapped off the streets. They're not being, transported from other countries. Our victims are coming from our local neighborhoods, and they're just young women, mostly, whether they're introduced to life as a minor or a juvenile, or just young adults. And the manipulation factors that go into getting them to do this work. It wasn't how I had perceived it to begin with.
You thought the kids were just getting snatched off the street and thrown into slavery.
The fact that they were just coming from the city that I live in. Our victims are just coming straight from our neighborhoods.
Coming right out of our own backyards.
We have, like a lot of our suburban cities outside of Sacramento, they're probably a little higher socioeconomic status, do undercover operations in a lot of those cities. And you would think, that doesn't happen there. I've had plenty of work during those operations where commercial sexual exploitation is occurring.
You think it just doesn't happen in certain neighborhoods, and it does. How big is the problem of human trafficking? What are you seeing? I mean, how big is it?
It's a tremendous problem. A few years ago, I'll speak about Sacramento, but I think it'll mirror what's going on in the rest of the nation. So one of our local advocacy groups in conjunction with Sac State and a national research firm did a really comprehensive study about the